With the rise of digital photography and the ease of photo manipulation, it has never been more important to understand what a proof is in photography. In this video, I'll be exploring the importance of proofs in photography, how they are created, and how they are used in the editing process. Whether you are a professional photographer or an amateur photographer, understanding the role that proofs play in terms of client relationships and building your own brand is very important. So with that being said, let's dive in. In short, a proof in photography is a preliminary, lightly edited version of an image that you send to the receiving party in order for them to review and approve before final edits are made. For example, let's take the scenario of a client booking a portrait photography session with me. During the session, let's say I take 100 photos. Out of those 100 photos, I will remove the duplicates, the ones that ended up blurry, ones where they are blinking, and the ones where their exposure is really off. From there, let's say I'm left with 30 photos. Out of those 30, I will lightly edit them just to make them look more presentable. This usually involves me applying my own Lightroom preset bundle onto the images to save precious time. I will send those 30 photos to the client and they will be watermarked images. I will discuss what tools you can use to send them later. But let's say you have a package where the client only gets 10 final photos. You will instruct them to pick 10 out of those that they will like to have. Once the client picks the final images they would like to receive, then you will now add the final edits to the image, which can include anything from finer details to detailed retouching in Photoshop, depending on your post-production skill set. The first reason proofs are used in photography is to ensure your images are free of defects. The process of proofing your own images before sending the proofs is like you running through an essay and checking for any spelling mistakes or grammatical errors. It's a nice quick way to force you to comb through your own images before sending them to the client. The second reason proofs are used in photography is to ensure the images meet the client's standards. The client should already know your photography style based on how you created your photography portfolio, but you just want to ensure that the client and you are still on the same page in terms of the photo quality and how the overall image composition looks by sending over the proofs. Lastly, sending over proofs to a client and getting some input, if they provide any, would save valuable post-production work and time. It can also help build trust between you and your clients by showing them that you are committed to delivering high-quality work that will also meet their expectations. When it comes to the different types of proofs used in photography, there are 3 different kinds. Each type of proof serves a different purpose, so let's take a closer look at each one. Contact sheets are sheets of photographic paper that contain small versions of the images you took during the photo shoot. They're usually printed in a grid of thumbnail-sized images, allowing for multiple images to fit onto the sheet. Contact sheet proofs are pretty old school and are usually useful for film photographers since they have a roll of film as opposed to digital cameras. Digital photographers could also create contact sheets by using software such as Lightroom or Photoshop and then printing them out. Digital proofs are the most common way proofs are made and sent out to clients. These types of proofs are usually created in Lightroom, Photoshop, or another third-party tool. Digital proofs are easy to share because it does not require any printing. You can share them via email or through online galleries. These types of proofs are best for clients who just plan on using the photos for digital uses only, such as online profile pictures, social media, online dating apps, etc. Test print proofs in photography are physical prints of an image that are used to verify the color accuracy and quality of the final image. They are typically created using a high-quality printer and paper and are an essential part of the printing process. Test print proofs are particularly important for fine art photographers, commercial photographers, and photographers who produce prints for sale or exhibition. They're also important for wedding and portrait photographers who want to provide high-quality prints to their clients. Now that we've covered the most common types of proofs, let's touch on how to create each kind. If you wish to create a contact sheet, you can do so using digital software such as Lightroom, which will allow you to create a grid of thumbnail images. From there, you can print them out. So in order to create a contact sheet in Adobe Lightroom, it's actually very easy. All you do is head to the print tab here, and then you can select all the images you want in your contact sheet by holding Shift and then selecting all the photos. You can, on the right side here, you can adjust how many rows and columns you want in your image. So for example, I'll just set it to fit all of them real quick. And then you can come down here and you can actually set different options such as like page number or page info or even crop marks. The most important part probably down here is the photo info. You'll want to check that. And you can actually adjust the different options. So you can set the exposure or to see what that exposure was in that image, or you can see what equipment you're using, the file name, and other cool features here. A big one is the exposure, so you can even use this for your own practice, such as you could take a look at this, and if there's a photo that you really like, you could take a look at the exposure settings, and then so you can know for future reference of, hey, I really like that photo, it turned out really sharp, what settings did I use? Or you can also look at the equipment if you were shooting with different lenses and stuff like that. But from here, then you just print it out. If you wish to create digital proofs, they can also be created in Lightroom. When you export the photos, there's an option to add a watermark to all of your images, and you can tweak the file settings so they are smaller file sizes, so it's easier to send to the clients. So let's say I wanted to send out this photo out as a proof. So usually I add a watermark and lower the file resolution so it sends over easier. So I'll want to go here to export, and then when you go to export, you just scroll down, and then there's a section called watermark, and then you'll just want to check mark that. You can even go to edit your watermarks and add a custom watermark. So I just added copyright and then my name. You could add whatever you want there. And then for the quality of the file size, I usually drop it to like 70 or 80 opposed to the 100 when I'm actually sending it for a final image over to the client. And the reason why sometimes I lower the file size is if I'm sending over a lot of photos to the client, then it takes a while to send, and it'll also take a while for them to download. So that's just an easy way, if you lower the file size, to just send it over quickly, because you got to remember they are just approving it, and this isn't necessarily the final image. If you wish to create test print proofs, then you'll need a high quality printer and paper to verify the color accuracy and quality of the final print. When you print out your photograph, the main things you'll want to look at are color, contrast, brightness, resolution, sharpness, and pixelation in the print. And an easy way to do this if you don't want, and a less expensive way to do this if you don't want to keep printing out every photo, is what's called test strips as well. So for example, if you're trying to see how black a certain black is in the color, you can just print out a little strip of that image. And then if you're trying to see a certain color in like a person's eye or a person's hair, you can just print out that little part. So it's strips of the part of the image. So that's an easy way as well to do test prints without printing out the page every single time. Let's now touch on the proofing software and tools you can use to easily create and send out proofs. In order to actually create and send out proofs, what tools should you use? Color management system tools are software tools used to ensure consistent and accurate color across devices. Oftentimes, we can be editing on a computer monitor that has brightness turned all the way up and contrast set on high. Well, if you edit your photos with these settings and then look at the images on your phone screen, the edits you thought you made could be completely off because you were actually working with a bad editing base. Color management tools such as X-Rite, Color Monkey, or the Data Color Spider, which is the one I actually use, not sponsored, allow you to calibrate your monitor for consistent and accurate colors. This should always be the first step before diving into any editing and color correction in your images, so I wanted to list this first, even though it doesn't really have anything to do with proofing. Adobe Lightroom and Photoshop are the most popular editing and retouching tools for photographers, and for good reason. Within Lightroom, you could easily manage, edit, and organize all your images. It also has built-in proofing features that make it very easy for you to create contact sheets or digital proofs. Photoshop is more technical, but you can do everything in Lightroom plus other more advanced edits and retouches. Personally, I like to make the first edits in Lightroom and then export them from Lightroom into Photoshop. Once I know what images the clients want, I make the final touches in Photoshop and export the images from Photoshop one by one and put them all in a folder. There are a few ways to send out proofs. I'll be touching on them in the next section, but I wanted to mention the most popular way now, which is through the use of online proofing platforms. The most popular online proofing platforms include Pixieset, Shootproof, and SmugMug, and I'm not sponsored by any of these. These platforms typically offer features such as commenting, annotation, and approval workflows. If you choose to make test prints, then a print layout software will be useful, such as Epson Print Layout. These layouts allow photographers to control how the color looks, the brightness, and the contrast of the prints, and to preview them before actually printing. Now that we've covered the tools, let's cover how to actually send the proofs and some best practices. Before I started using online proofing tools, I would just take all of my proofs and create a folder for the client in my Google Drive, then share access to the Google Drive with the clients and tell them to let me know which images they like by file name. It worked, but probably wasn't the most professional. Similar to the Google Drive method, if there weren't many images to send over, I would just send them over in a regular email and have them let me know which images they liked. Again, similar to the Google Drive, this probably wasn't very professional. Nowadays, I use online proofing platforms, and I personally like using Pixieset, but I've also heard great things about SmugMug and ShootProof. Using an online proofing platform is just a lot more professional and can help add bonus points to your brand image, so this usually is my go-to way to share proofs now. Before sending out the proofs, there are also some best practices you should know about before sharing them. As mentioned, you'll want to watermark your proofs because this can help deter unauthorized use of your images. It also looks pretty professional when someone receives a custom watermarked image. In case you don't know what a watermark is, it's just a visible overlay that could include your logo, business name, copyright notice, or any other identifying information. You may also want to consider password protecting your proofs through the online galleries or in your files to ensure only authorized individuals can access their proofs. This is especially important if you photograph work that is not meant to be shown to the public, such as unreleased product photos or private boudoir photos. If you use an online proofing platform, then most have this feature. You can add it, and if you're just sending a file over to them, then just put a password on it and let the client know. Limiting the resolution or size of your proofs can also help prevent unauthorized printing or distribution, and will also help in terms of sending it over due to file size and speed. This can be achieved by sharing low resolution versions of your images or by limiting the size of your online galleries. You'll want to go low enough to where the image still looks good and not like a pixelated mess. Also, let the client know that they are low resolution so they don't think you're a bad photographer. Having a terms and conditions page somewhere on your site or for your business is important in general, and having a section in there about the use of your images can help prevent any future misunderstandings or disputes with clients. This can include specifying how your images can be used, how long they can be used, and what fees or royalties may apply. For example, I know some photographers have in there that if they're posting it online or anything like that to not add any more heavy filters to the images because they want their final image and editing that they made to be final and not to be doctored in any way. Professional communication with clients can help ensure that they understand the importance of protecting your intellectual property and what the proofing process actually is. This can include explaining your policies and procedures for sharing proofs, how and why you share proofs, and being proactive in addressing any concerns or questions that may arise. Some clients might think that you just take their photos and then they receive them. You'll want to let them know the whole process, that you'll take the photos, lightly edit them, and send over the proofs. They will pick from the proofs and you'll add the final edits, and then they will receive the photos through XYZ platform. When it comes to mistakes to avoid when using proofs in photography, it's pretty much doing the opposite of everything we've already discussed. But the biggest mistake when it comes to proofs in photography that I usually see is, and that I've guilty of, is probably skipping the proofing process altogether. If you currently do not send over proofs to your clients, I'd recommend you start doing so. And even if they're not paying clients, but just people you took photos for, this is a good practice to get in the habit of. In conclusion, proofing is a process that every photographer working with clients or people who send over photos to other people should use. It can help you save time, improve your brand image, and make you look more professional. Now go out there and start proofing. Thanks for watching.